Bienvenidos everyone on this beautiful spring afternoon. How's everybody doing? I didn't hear you. How's everybody doing? All right. We are here to celebrate International Poetry Month. That's taking place everywhere, including our Pueblo Mágico. We thank our gracious hosts, Kate Lewis. Where are you, Kate? Come on, sister. There she is. Of Libreria El Tecolote, and Noel Morales and Rachel Glick. They're probably working the room. Of El Refugio, here where we are today, Mezcaleria. And our troubadour poets, Los Poetas. We welcome you and we thank you. And we bow with gratitude to you, our family and friends. Yep. So what to expect? What are we going to do? We're going to start with a tasty ritual or two, with a little martini shaking in the background, to get us immersed in the now. Then I will introduce you to our 5 savvy poets who are going to share their work with us. And they are Ivonne Benitez, Javier Peñalosa, Margaret Shaughnessy. Margaret, stand up, sister. There she is. Charlotte, you let me. And we're going to pay tribute, thank you, to a late, great poet, Bruce Berger. All right, so we'll talk about that. Hi, Jill. Hi, Papa. Okay, now, what we're going to do now, there is going to be a halftime in a little while with more live flamenco music by Mark Atala, our guitarist and musician, and then we're going to resume with poetry, and it's going to be sort of like the Super Bowl. It's going to be like a, what is that called? Halftime. There you go. So halftime, we resume, and then we'll have a few more poets, we'll round it out, and then we'll lift our glasses and toast as our crescendo. So how does that sound? Sounds good? Woo! All right. Now, a couple things to know. This is sort of called housekeeping. Our poets' books are for sale in the bookstore, and there are many, many more books inside that room in there, just waiting for you to take them home. All right, so that's good to know. They're open quite often. We are recording this event, so it's going to go ballistic. If you enjoy this experience and wish to join us for more poetry and spoken word, give us your info in the little black book, and we'll invite you to more events, okay? The little black book is right over here, all right? And I have to say this, it sounds kind of tacky, but if you need to go to the loo, it's around the corner and to the left, just so you can know that, all right? And then also, if you could please turn off anything that dings, rings, or bings, okay, whatever that might be. I'm not going to ask you, because we're going to start. This is April, and it's Abril, and it has a meaning to it, to open, so let's open. Here are quotes about poetry, poesía, by revered poets to spice up our air here in our beautiful refugio, in our refuge. Pablo Neruda, one of the most influential and widely read 20th century poets, tells us, "Poetry came in search of me." Rosario Castellanos, Mexico's grand dame visionary poet, describes poetry as Our Lady of the Winds. And Lawrence Ferlinghetti, poet dude who died just a few weeks ago, wrote unforgettable poetry. Many say his writing sings with sad and comic music of the streets. Ferlinghetti splashes, poetry is eternal graffiti written in the heart of everyone. That's too good. Woo-hoo, Lawrence. Okay. It's time to make our artists' souls speak. As our own brilliant Jill Logan, artist, writer, says. And we are going to do that by creating an altar in our backstreet kitchen of poetry right here. So I asked my colleague, Javier Peñalosa, to come on up. We're teamed up to reveal to you guys the 4 ingredients for the recipe, which is called La Receta, right? Am I saying it right? He's going to help me. That makes up damn good poetry. We'll mix it up. It will marinate, infuse us in its interbeingness to feed us all, to nourish us all. So, Javier, would you be so kind as to come on down to the front, or maybe right through there. All right. We're going to start with the rocks, and there's plenty of them here, isn't there? I'm sure if you build anything in your backyard, you notice all the rocks here. Okay. We're going to start with rocks from the Baja. There you go. A good poem must have structure. How do you say structure? ¿Cómo se dice structure?
Estructura. Se dice estructura y se dice piedra o se dice roca, y esto es una buena roca para una buena estructura.
Roca. Okay, so there we have the rocks. Then it's the reason why the rocks are important is it represents the mind, so our minds can embrace fully. So the structure of the ceremony is important. Then, to have damn good poetry, it is necessary, massively important, that there is a story. Javier, tell us a little bit. How would you say story in Spanish?
Bueno, es muy fácil porque se dice historia, y esto representa la historia. Gracias.
Okay, yeah. And this is represented with the yarn. And there is an old sailor's expression called spinning the yarn, and that means to tell a story. So not just any story, it's got to be a colorful story, and sometimes it never really was true. So, and then also we have the flute. It goes into the mix as well, into our altar. And the flute, how do you say music? Maybe you could say a little bit about the music. You can come here too if you want.
Sí.
How do you say music in Spanish?
It's very easy to, it's música.
Okay. And the music, la música, offers lyric, the heartbeat, and it gives poem the body. And now a little, so you can go right ahead and put the flute anywhere you want on that stone altar. And then a little drum roll. How's that for sound effects? For our final ingredient. Our final ingredient. It's the juice which is the imagination. Javier, I got you going back. He's doing time on this one.
Okay, this is not imagination, this is mezcal, but it helps.
So I asked Javier to open the mezcal, as he has, and por favor, pour it on. Aprovecho. Yay. Just, yeah. Nah. We're not gonna do this. Right? Let's raise our glass. Woohoo! Javier, you're all right, brother. Thank you. It's gonna be fun, right? All right. Now, we add, because we got the ingredients here. Now we got to add the element of fire and warmth to our event with our 3-tiered candle lighting ritual to pay tribute to the past, to the present, and to the future. And then we'll keep those candles aglow. But first, I want to say gracias to Artista Kate Thomason for her vibrant votive. She does beautiful work with glass, and she dedicated these to our event, which is going to become a new tradition. So thank you. So I asked our poet, Margaret Shaughnessy, to come on up and light the first candle that is going to represent poetry going back to day one, and all poets from the past, even those who may be on the flip side. Bruce Berger, you are here in spirit, our brother. Thank you, Margaret. And let me say this. Mary Oliver said of her craft. You guys know the poet Mary Oliver? Okay. Yay, Mary Oliver. She said, poetry is one of the ancient arts, and it begins as it did all the fine arts, with the original wilderness of the earth. Okay, now Javier, come on up again. Javier Peñalosa will light the second candle that represents the present. And this goes out to all the poets all over the world right now. So, French poet, thank you, Jean Cocteau says, the poet is a liar who always speaks the truth. Like that one, right? I now ask poet Yvonne Benitez to light our third and last candle that represents the future. Future generations of poets and poetry that's coming soon. Thank you, Yvonne. Dylan Thomas tells us, a good poem is a contribution to reality. The world is never the same once a good poem has been added to it. It helps to change the shape of the universe, to extend everyone's knowledge of oneself and the world around them. All right. Now I'm honored to introduce this evening our first poet, Yvonne Benitez. And let me give you her bio. Gotta give her proper bio. Yvonne Benitez is an entrepreneur, writer, translator, educator, and founder of the great school Hablando Mexicano, Spanish school, here in our Pueblo. Yeah! So much talent. The school's mission is not only to teach the Spanish language, but also Mexico's culture. She has a BA in bilingual education from the University of Guanajuato and 2 master's degrees. She's been the executive director of Todos Santos Writers Workshop, very prestigious workshop, for quite a few years, and is a translator for our Journal del Pacifico magazine. Yvonne writes fiction, nonfiction, and poetry, and we're really happy to have her. Yvonne.
Buenas tardes, iba a decir buenas noches. Thank you all for coming, and for me it's a great honor to be here to be part of this. I have to say that I am a writer, but not really a poet. I recently started writing poetry, but I will read you a poem. And first I will read it in Spanish, and even though I do a lot of translation, I did this translation, and I hope that you can understand, because my translation, I don't think it came out great, but I hope you enjoy it. Oh, and a little bit of story of this poem. This poem, it's called Espartano, because for me, I love Greek mythology, etc. And this poem was born from something, that created everything, and when we let go our fear, cuando dejamos ir los miedos, es cuando todo sucede y pasa. Espartano, destroza mis duelos, repara mi espejo, besa esta mano alimentando mis monstruos, estela que alumbras mis pasos, ven, prende fuego a este océano, hazme arder una y otra vez tras tu piel y resurgir, regenerar las pavesas que aún quedan de esta humanidad, destruye lo indestructible, altera lo inalterable, mézclala con mis pedazos manchados de niña y adolescente, con esta altura de mujer que no sabe quién es, y dudas constantes. Pinta de verde los olivos de este olvido, unge en mi aceite tus más oscuros delirios, pon precio a la luz de esta herida, pagaré con caricias el calor que te adeudo, y moldea para mí un universo en el que no gravite alrededor del sol de mi herrumbre. Sigue con descaro mis huellas exhaustas, danzando ágilmente infantes cristales. Acosa mi mente con tus ideas y aristas. Sé ese artista que forme mi mundo de ojalás y aromas valientes. Venga, hazme dar cuenta que ya soy una y plena, sola y por mí misma. Respírame todos los miedos, esculpe con ellos una montaña de humo, donde al fin se evapore todo eso que fuimos. Lee entre mis líneas lo que no sé decirte. Agárrate junto a mí al esplendor de estas gemas y corónate rey ante esta republicana insurrecta que te ofrece un imperio oxidado y dañado, erigido hace siglos en las ruinas lejanas de Esparta. Now I will read the English version, and I apologize if some of the sentences do not make more sense or a lot of sense. Spartan, demolish my grief, repair my mirror, kiss this hand feeding my monsters, stella that illuminates my steps, come, set this ocean on fire, make me blaze over and over, beyond your skin and resurface, regenerate the ashes that still remain of this humanity, destroy the indestructible, alter the unalterable, blended with my stained pieces of this girl and teenager, with this high of a woman that doesn't know who she is, of constant doubts, color of green, the olive trees of this omission, smear in my oil your darkest deliriums, put a price on this wound, I will pay with caresses the warmth that I owe you, and mold a universe for me that does not gravitate around from the sun of my rustiness. Follow my exhausted footprints, dancing nimbly. Harass my mind with your ideas and edges. Be that artist that fill my world with ojalás and brave aromas. Emerge. Make me realize that I am already one and full. Unique in myself. Breathe all my fears, esculp with them a mountain of smoke where it finally evaporates everything we wear. Read between my lines those things that I cannot tell you. Hold on next to me to the splendors of these gems, and crown yourself king in front of this rebellious republican that offers you an empire, rusty and damaged, erected centuries ago in the ruins far of Sparta. Thank you. And as I say, I write a little bit of poetry, but I will read a small chapter of one of the books that I'm writing. And this is, Latin American. We write a lot of magical realismo mágico, so this is a small chapter. And it's called Divine Justice. The clock marked 5 o'clock. It was getting dark, and dinner had not been served. Mom had been cooking all day. Mole was being cooked. Very odd, considering that it was Maximiliano's favorite dish, and far he was for being treated. The don that nobody respected at La Verduzqueña. He had become a stranger. Everyone obeyed him, but everyone disguised him. Mom seemed so worried, but focused, just trying to get dinner done and served. Virgen de Guadalupe, dinner for 30 people? What an ordeal. However, it was the pan nuestro of each single day. She mastered her kitchen, not to please that, but to make everyone happy. She could have worked all day long, tortillando, teaching, milking, planting, roasting, grinding, washing, selecting, serving, fighting, putting up with that. However, dinner was the sacred gathering every single day. Once she told me it was one of the few things that made her happy. To see everyone sitting there, to see all of her kids, the workers, all of us enjoying what she had cooked. That's how she showed love. As I entered into the kitchen, Mom dropped the pot with beans. She was frightened. I figured it had to do with what happened early morning. I would always regret not to have told her that Dad had not seen them. It would have taken so much pain out of her on that long and painful day. But I thought she would feel embarrassed for me, her oldest son, to know that she was cheating on Dad, even though he deserved it. I lost the number of mornings where I watched them, not to be nosy, but to protect Mom. She wore her ass off. Roberto loved her. I heard him so many times begging Mom to leave him. But Mom was right. What would they do with 16 children? I told Rafael a bit of the story, of course avoiding some details. He hated that as much as I did. We spent many nights under the laurel plotting how we were going to kill him, free Mom, and become the masters of the hacienda. Mom discovered us one night and make us swear that we will never, ever, ever kill that. Suddenly, after I swore her that I was not going to do it, poor rain exploded from heavens, everywhere rain, but under the laurel. It was soaking wet, but we were dry and safe under that tree. The laurel had each name of all of her 16 children carved on a different branch. Mom had done the first 10. Then Esther, Chole, Rafael, and I have carved the rest of the family. We stood there smelling the air getting soaked, the gift from heavens, not knowing that you have to be careful what you wish for. The horse was her. Mom came out of the kitchen. At a distance, the white stallion and Dad were galloping, entering into the hacienda. Esperanza ran to meet Dad. She was the only one happy to see the guy back. Dad slowed down, kissed her on the frente. Mommy, Dad is home. Maximiliano brought her to Mom and gave her right into the arms. Dinner will be ready. The laurel needs a bit of pruning. I will cut those pinches branches, then you stir 15 minutes at the most. Then off he went. 6:10, the clock unmistakably pointed. The sun was still out. A weird darkness covered the whole sky, while a lightning and a thunder struck the hacienda. Mom and I came outside the kitchen to see the show, when suddenly, what we saw was a flying man down the tree. It was that, the dawn falling fast down that huge tree. I stood there in shock, not believing if it was real or not. Then a crack that woke us up, the tremendous noise that made his head crack in the roots of that tree. We all ran in commotion. Mommy, tell Daddy to get up. I got closer, but Dad had not pulse at all. He was gone. Gone under the same tree that Rafael and I have plotted to kill him. God and Virgin forgive us. It was a vague thought that had crossed many times our minds, but we were cowards to do even something close. Mom looked at us, hold us, and she whispered, "It will all be okay. The God from the heavens took care of it." Mom ordered the workers to bring a white blanket, then sent Roberto to bring the major. He lay there under the tree, alone. The sun shone for the last time, and off it went. Mom gathered all of us and ordered, "Go to the dining room. It's been a long day. We will have dinner and then deal with the funeral." The mole was served, eaten, and enjoyed like we have never done it before. Thank you.
Wow. I'm honored to introduce you to Javier Peñalosa. Javier is a writer and educator who was born and raised in Mexico City. He earned a BA in education, an MFA in creative writing in Spanish at New York University, NYU. He is the author of the children's book El Día que María Perdió la Voz and co-author of Espejos, Mocos, Cucarachas y Otros Pócimas. The third book is currently in the publishing process. As a screenwriter, he has worked in the development of award-winning TV programs, and as a poet, he is the author of Aviario and Los Trenes que Partían de Mí. Javier was twice recipient of a fellowship for young writers from the Fundación para las Letras Mexicanas. In 2009, he was awarded a National Poetry Prize, and in 2011, he received a Young Artist Fellowship from the National Fund for the Arts in Mexico, and we're really, really happy to have him here with us. Woo-hoo.
Buenas tardes. Okay. Buenas tardes, buenas noches. Quiero agradecer a Kate, al Tecolote. Support your local bookshop, please. Y a Charlotte por la invitación y al Refugio por recibirnos aquí. I will read one poem in Spanish and then in English, and before doing that I would like to say a couple of things. First of all is that, well, English is not my first language, so I might stumble during my reading. I apologize for that. And the other thing that I would like to say is that I want to do like a special recognition to the translator that helped me or to put my words into English. Her name is Robin Myers. She's an American poet and she lives in Mexico City. And I think that the work of translators is very, very important, and sometimes we don't spend the time to acknowledge them. So I would like to acknowledge Robin for borrowing her words, my words. That being said, I'm just gonna read. La grulla. Nunca había visto una tan cerca. Cuando la encontré escondida en el bote, a la orilla del agua, todavía sus ojos iban de un lado hacia el otro, como si mirar fuera una forma de moverse, de salir de ahí. Tenía las alas rotas y su largo cuello, elegante como los juncos, solo insinuaba algunas plumas y estaba cubierto de lodo. Las hormigas ácidas, rojas, comían de la carne abierta, de la sangre de ave que emanaba del costado. Me quedé mirándola sin atreverme a tocarla. Yo no sabía de la lentitud agónica, de esa forma de estremecerse más allá del dolor. La grulla respiraba con dificultad, cuando el mango del remo que yo empuñaba rompió su cráneo. No hizo ningún sonido, no graznó, pero con un reflejo que no venía del lado de la vida, alcanzó a mover esa pierna de carrizos un par de veces. Yo sentí una columna de frío subir despacio hasta mi nuca, mis manos temblaron porque no sabían llorar, y en mi alma la misericordia tuvo por primera vez el rostro de la vergüenza. Pero en la majestad de ese cuerpo humillado por las fracturas, en ese desprendimiento del alma del pájaro, se fue algo mío también frágil y moribundo. Han pasado muchos años desde entonces, y a veces en las tardes miro a esa grulla volver dentro de mí sobre el cielo abierto de mi juventud, volando apenas con tumbos cada vez más cerca del suelo. Yo sé que está muy cansada, como están cansadas las cosas que se repiten, la canción monótona de los grillos, lo que está detrás de las ventanas o el peso constante de la culpa. Por eso estoy esperando a que caiga, para acercarme otra vez con el remo entre las manos. And well, now the Thank you. I don't know if you got it, but I think that even if you don't like just the sound of another language, it's intended to be musical. I don't know. I think it's nice. I do like listening to Iranian poetry, and I don't speak Iranian. Anyway, this is a translation, and the title is The Crane, These Birds, the crane. I've never been so close to one. When I found it hidden in the boat, beside the riverbank, its eyes still shifted back and forth, as if sight itself were movement, flight. Its wings were broken, and its long, thin neck, as graceful as a reed's, could only intimate its feathers slicked with a moth. The acid ends, bright red, ate from the gaping flesh, the bird blood streaming from its side. I stared, afraid to touch. I'd never known about the drawing out of death, this trembling beyond pain. The crane was drawing labor breaths when the handle of the oar I gripped shattered its skull. It made no sound, it never squawked, but with every flex, the kind that life can yield, it moved that leg of river grasses once or twice. I felt a line of cold rise slowly to my neck. My hands shook since they couldn't whip, and in my soul compassion poured Shane's face for the first time. But in the splendor of the body that fractures had abased, and as the spirit of the bird cut free, something in me vanished too, something fragile, dying. That was many years ago, and sometimes in the afternoons I watched the crane return inside me, across the broad sky of my youth, lurching, barely in flight, nearing the ground. I know it's very tired, as all things that repeat themselves are tired. Crickets unchanging song, but on the other side of windows, the constant weight of blame. But I'm waiting for it to fall, so I can draw close again, the oar clutched in my hands.
How's everybody doing? You digging it? We all snapping fingers? We're at poetry reading? Can you believe it? Okay, we're gonna take a little break for about 5 minutes. So, and Mark is gonna play a little guitar for us, and then we're gonna come back with Margaret and with me, and also we're gonna pay respect and bring Bruce into the house, and then we'll make our toast. Thank you. Mark? That's how big your hands are. All right. I'm next. I'm Charlotte Ulett. I'm a poet, writer, educator, and I'm a master life ceremony celebrant. I do a lot of personalized weddings, funerals, and a lot of different kinds of ceremonies. I'm a co-founder of the Celebrant Foundation Institute, which is a world-renowned educational organization that teaches the art and profession as a certified life cycle celebrant. My new book of poetry is entitled Real, Vibrant, and it will be released in the fall. The book is a collection of poems that can be read aloud or to oneself. My poems are poignant, word-loving, story-painting, and crafted with shamelessness and reverence.
Or irreverent.
My first book is in the bookstore. It's my Life Cycle Ceremonies, a handbook of your whole life, and it's a compendium. I've been a poet and a great lover of poetry since I could read and write, and drawing zest and inspiration from my Greek heritage from Chicago. So I live in Chicago, I lived in New York, lived in New Jersey, and this is our home now here in Todos Santos with my beloved husband, Mark, and our dog, Reina. So the Mexican people and culture and Spanish language live very large in my work. And I'm a graduate of Columbia College in Chicago, so I dig that. I've got to give Columbia College a little bit of a hit there. I also wish to introduce my friend Angela Tortora, who will read my poem Guaycura People in Spanish, and I'm thankful to Javier Peñalosa for translating the poem beautifully into the Spanish language. So come on up, Angie. Yeah. First I'm going to read it in English. Here goes. Guaycura people, did you walk smooth into the ocean down by Puente Lobos, where the pangas come in never to be seen again? What can you tell us? What would you tell us? Are you here now? Are we listening? Are you reaching for us, speaking through the rocks, clouds, and sand? It's all the same air we've been breathing, in and out, in and out. Saying soil beneath our feet. Look, it's all there in the stray ostiones, oyster shells, found up in those hills and down in the dried riverbeds. Will we find each other on the shores of Punta Lobos? Are we you at all? Thank you. Now a little bit about the Guaycura people, in case you didn't know. They are our Baja Sur ancient original ancestors. Pangas are the fishing boats, so if you hear the word, the fishing boats. And Punta Lobos, if you don't know also, is a sacred beach that they share throughout the ages. So this is a poem about our home here. Angie?
Pueblo Guaycura, bajando por Punta Lobos, por donde entran las pangas, desapareciste suavemente en el océano para no ser visto nunca más. ¿Qué puedes decirnos? ¿Qué nos dirías? ¿Estás aquí? ¿Estamos escuchándote? Nos hablas a través de rocas, nubes y arenas. El aire es el mismo que nosotros respiramos, es el mismo suelo bajo nuestros pies. Miren, están allí, en la concha de los ostiones que fueron hallados en los cerros y en el lecho de los ríos. Nos encontraremos otra vez en la orilla de Punta Lobos. De alguna manera, ustedes somos nosotros.
Okay. I have my notes. Has everybody ever heard the word, while you're down here, of course, if you're Spanish speaking, tranquilo? Okay? Maybe people have said to you, calm down, tranquilo, take a breather, right? All right. So here we go. But wait a minute. I want you guys to be part of this poem. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to be reading in Spanish, but I'm going to be saying the word tranquilo. If I put my hand up like this, you're going to say it once. But if I put my hand up twice or three times, you'll say either tranquilo, 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 or tranquilo, tranquilo, tranquilo. But I want you to say, if you had a little bit of mezcal, damn it, you should say it with a little oomph, all right? So here we go. First, I'm going to try. Can everybody say tranquilo on the count of three? 1, 2, 3.
Tranquilo.
Oh, you guys are good. All right, here we go. The beachcomber dogs digging holes to bury our setting sun each night in the Pacific Ocean. Tranquilo, tranquilo. The old lady in the church touches your dim, trembling hands with her creviced hands to soothe only you. The lentil sopa boils over the stove, wafting spice and garlic. The man in the wheelchair who lost his legs asking for help via a paper coffee cup. The man who lost his faith once long ago. Maybe you will find it and return it to him someday. My mother's pink sweater I wore for many days while tending to her dying, her last breath. She for my first breath. Fair exchange.
Tranquilo.
The lavender scarf in the wind flying under the bridge anywhere. Her gold tooth glows in the night's fluorescent as she smiles, making wild tortillas. The hairdresser rinses your hair, thinking about her young daughter, her mother watching her young daughter. No men in the family anymore. Uncle Gus by the grave puts some money and cigarettes out beneath the wreath so workers won't take the frozen funeral flowers away yet. Just another day, please. The ducks and geese and seagulls getting along so well on Chicago's Lake Michigan City shore. The crows politely wait in the distance for their turn to be nearer. Cousin Nikki and her pounced-on heart, much love brewing all the time. Her sister, Cousin Dina's sharp mind, asleep now. Love, joy, arena in our souls. Love tokens spent. We only have so many, can't replenish, and oh so valuable when you give them out. You know it's so, each of you, way down deep in the hush we share. Press your hands together and make aloud your. Thank you. I invite Margaret Shaughnessy, our divine poet, to come on up. A little bit of bio about Margaret. Wait for her to come on up. Margaret! All right. Margaret Shaughnessy, from Pittsburgh, PA, is currently living here in Pescadero. After 51 years as a professor of writing and literature, she finally has retired. Woo! Jubilo! Okay, Shaughnessy has 4 children and 6 grandchildren who enjoy the Pescadero ocean and lifestyle with her. Her favorite sport might still be ice skating, though body surfing is close. Shaughnessy has published 3 books of poetry and has hundreds more poems to publish and many more to write. So her books are Harvest Matrix, which is, they're here in this bookstore as well, Epiphany in Pescadero, and Epiphany in Pescadero 2. Margaret.
Thank you. I was going to read a poem about Los Adobes, and then I thought, no, can't do that. It's already been done. And then I thought, well, I drowned a couple of years ago, and I thought, well, maybe I'll read that one. So everybody kept saying, no, don't do that one, don't do that one. So here I am, not really knowing which poem to read. And so I've decided, because of yesterday's, I don't want to call it a vindication, but I guess I will, with Chauvin, that I would read an older poem that kind of touches on my heart and probably yours. It's called Eclipse, and it's Eclipse Abandonment. I took a picture of the eclipse. After all, it's once in 99 years in the United States. I took the video of leaves pinpointing the sun on cement and on the steps as the sun moved to its 3 o'clock position, stretching the decrescents reflected on the ground as the moon overtook the sun and waned across the universe. Small slivers, half moons of sun quivered with a slight breeze of this once-in-a-lifetime eclipse. What has eclipsed us? What are we overcome by today that we thought we had overcome in the 60s? We were naive, certain that civil rights were available to all by the 70s, as both blacks and whites were drafted and died in Vietnam. 2001 brought new shadows, elongating the crescents of our hammered dream. The sun has continued its daily journey. Trayvon, Michael, Kendra, Freddie, Eric, Walter, till now. Suddenly, Charlottesville has trumped our passivity. Why have we not awakened to the afterlight of white privilege, shadowed by the history of racism? We stand together offering shaded or telescope vision to students, friends, faculty. And yet, how fast can we be spinning that the sun has become the crescent, is exchanging places with the moon, realizing that only in dreams does the moon have a chance to catch the sun brightness. Temperatures dropped today as the shadow of racism passed over us, blocking out hope and peace. Ignorance looks at the sun with no protection. Look through the cereal box at the pinpoint of the moon. Take a selfie backwards to see the light. Watch the sun succumb to the late summer clouding of whiteness wrapped in an eclipse. Thank you.
Delicious. Okay. Bruce Berger is with us tonight in spirit. Javier is going to come up and read one of Bruce's poems from his book, his last book, Facing the Music. But first, let me read a little bit about Bruce Nicholas Berger. 1938 to 2021, was an award-winning American nonfiction writer, poet, and pianist who lived in both Aspen, Colorado, and here in the Baja. Berger's poems have been included in magazines and periodicals and in the literary reviews in the United States and in Scotland. He has published a poetry collection called Facing the Music that we have the book here. He is a 3-time winner of the Colorado's Authors League Award for Poetry. He is best known for a series of books exploring the intersections of nature and culture. Berger's books have won many awards: Oasis of Stone, Visions of Baja California Sur, won the 206 Forward Silver Award in the Nature category and the 2006 Colorado Authors Log Award for specialty writing. His articles and essays have appeared in the New York Times, Gramophone, music, right? And numerous literary articles, and we're really happy to have Javier channel our Bruce. Come on up.
I'm going to read this Bruce poem named Mimesis, hoping or aiming to that. Mimesis. Rowboat reflections in one impressionist lake after another are forged by strokes that fall in discontinuous swipes of the palette knife. Stock deceit, I thought, generic lie to distinguish the massed pigments of solid matter from the radiant half tints split off by water, till this morning I saw real fishermen rock a boat in real fog, so lightly as to make waves whose troughs reflected a hull, whose crests reflected sky, as if art reflected life. after all.
Bruce. So fill up your glasses, everyone, because we're gonna toast real soon. Here goes. 20th century Greek poet Konstantino Kavafis authored his powerful poem called Ithaca, based on the greatest story and epic poem ever told, the Odyssey of Homer, written in 800 BC. Okay, wait. I got the book. It's right here. It's hanging out. Homer's hanging out with us tonight, okay? Hey, I want to ask Kate. Kate, do you think that, like us poets, if we bring our books over here, they might last for close to 3,000 years, maybe 1,000? You know, you can sell them, right? You think? Absolutely. Okay. All right. But I brought the book, okay? Anyway, it's a big deal for me. I'm sorry, guys. All right. Now, Kavafis' poem follows the Greek hero Odysseus, king of Ithaca's arduous voyage home after the Trojan War. And it was nasty. Okay. Odysseus is here now. He came through tonight's meteor shower to speak to us, the future generations. He tells us, when you set out on your journey to Ithaca, ask that the road is a long one, full of adventure and full of discovery. Ha ha. With delight, we invite artist Hasub Benitez, a member of our future generation, to come on up and blow out our candles as we mark the end of our event and the beginning of poetry unleashed in our town. Go right ahead, dear. Hasub. Let's raise our glasses. Salute! Thank you, everybody. Enjoy.